So just a few broad comments about all the syllabus documents. If you've looked at the new syllabus documents, you'll see that in terms of words, the syllabus is longer, but there's definitely not more content. In the old syllabus, the content points, similar to standard, were quite vague in some areas, and the authors needed to make a lot of assumptions about they thought what was in and what was out. And of course, they were conservative in that sense, just because the last thing we want is something to appear in an HSC that was not covered in our books. The new syllabus, few assumptions need to be made due to the clarity of the document. So we're very confident this time around. We've got very clear alignment to the syllabus. What this presentation covers in terms of syllabus changes, any time where the new content kind of differs from assumptions made, I'll bring that up. Obviously, anything that's new or been removed, I'll bring that up as well. And any content that has changed courses. And that's probably the biggest one, shifting content between Advanced Extension 1 and Extension 2. The vast majority of the assumptions that the authors made in the first edition of the textbook, they were correct. And plenty of times over and over, that's kind of been indicated they've done a good job with that. But yeah, it is a lot more clear this time around. But any time that those assumptions were correct, I won't just mention it over and over unless there was a bit of debate around the matter. Anytime something moved within the same year of the same course, I won't mention it then either. Next slide, please. So just on the right, you can see a screenshot of the Maths Advanced Year 11 syllabus. On the left is my take on it for this presentation. So you can see the focus area, further graph transformations and modeling at the top. I'll be going through each of the main headings. And in the pink box there, if you see a plus, that means there's new material. A minus means something's been removed. And if there's a square dot point there, that's my just kind of general comment about what's going on there. I will go through this fairly quickly because there's a lot of information here, but I know these slides and the presentation will be made available afterwards. So please, if you're taking notes, don't stress out too much if I go through this fairly quickly. Next slide, please. So in Year 12 Advanced, dilations has been removed because that's now in the Year 11 Advanced course. Modeling with functions, log functions have been moved from Year 11 to Year 12. Under sequences and series, the sigma notation for a sum, that was actually never used at all in the advanced syllabuses, which is crazy to think when we did discrete probability distributions, a sigma notation was never used, but it is certainly in there now. It's also no longer a subset of financial mathematics, so that's quite a sensible decision. Next slide, please. As you know, differentiating e to the ax, so basically anything involving the chain rule, was moved from Year 11 Advanced, so that's now in Year 12 Advanced, and all those other harder derivatives involving exponentials as well. Next slide. So under integration, it's not necessarily a new content point, but it is worth mentioning that the notation is a lot more formal in the way that a definite integral is described and the notation throughout that document. For example, the definite integral, it's not defined as being an area under a curve or anything like that. It's a much more formal definition there. Down the bottom, the area between a curve and the y-axis, that's now explicitly included in the syllabus, that's new. An area between curves is now explicitly in Extension 1, so that's been removed. Next slide, please. Differentiability at a point has been included in Year 12 Advanced. It's also worth mentioning the definition in the syllabus is quite formal, and that's in contrast to the definition of continuity at a point in Year 11, which just talks about a curve going through a point. So just keep an eye on that because it does involve kind of the existence of a derivative at a point, which is a much more formal take on it. Under rates of change, acceleration, and specifically the notation d squared x dt squared and x double dot, that is now in Year 12 Advanced. And that notation, by the way, x double dot and x dot even, that was actually only in Extension 1 and 2 before, but it's now explicitly in Advanced as well. Under random variables, discrete random variables, that entire topic has been moved to Year 12. And that now means we do all the stats, distributions, discrete and continuous in the same year, which seems quite sensible. Just a few extra inclusions with the notation. The mean and variance of a continuous random variable. That is now explicitly in the syllabus, and that was already in the Cambridge book. So that's one of those many cases where the right assumption was made there. The notation to call x a normal random variable, using that notation that's in the syllabus, that was already mentioned in the Cambridge books though. The next major point ties in with what Stuart was saying. There's a whole lot of common content that was removed. So I think we can all kind of breathe a sigh of relief when kind of looking at all of that content that advanced never really kind of treated with the same degree of seriousness, I think, would be my take on it, as some of the standard students would. So yeah, I'm a big fan, I think, of common content being removed. Next slide, please. And finally, under financial maths, again with the common content, the financial tables have been removed. So yeah, good news for us.